Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by Pippa Harman, co-founder of Renude. How are you today, Pippa?
I'm very well, thank you, Steven. How are you doing?
I'm extremely good. It's Friday. This week has flown by and the weekend will probably fly by as well, but it's all good things.
Good.
Excellent. So let's jump straight into this. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about Renude, and then we can jump into sort of how you guys formed it and what you're trying to embark on.
Sure. So my background is in formulation chemistry. So I started my career as a formulation chemist for skincare for FMCGs such as Reckitt Benckiser and Boots, before kind of moving to commercial product development for smaller kind of startup businesses such as Beauty Pie was my most recent role. And last year founded Renude along with my co-founder Catherine. So Renude is basically connecting users with licensed estheticians online to create personalized skincare plans based on needs, budget, and lifestyle.
Super simple explanation. I love it. How did you, at what point last year did this idea start to form? What was going on in your world that you thought this is something that has got legs and I think it can really work?
I guess it had been brewing for quite a long time. Obviously, being in the industry where I was making skincare for a living, I would always have friends and family kind of ask me what they should be using and sending me pictures of ingredients lists when they were out shopping, saying, is this any good? And so it kind of naturally grew and grew and grew. And I was kind of giving people advice all the time. And, it became like friends of friends started asking me for advice and things like that. And then
the agony aunt of cosmetics.
Yeah. And then it got to a point where I started thinking, actually, do you know what? There's a real market need for this. There's not really, a space that someone can go to for kind of unbiased professional advice. So that was like the seed was planted, and I started doing kind of more in-depth consultations a couple of years ago, actually on the back of a hen do, which everyone was, it was a lot of new people I hadn't met before, and there was a lot of excitement around the kind of work that I was doing. So I started creating skincare plans for a lot of the women that were on this hen do, and then that kind of grew and grew and grew. And I realized basically that I couldn't keep up with the demand. There was the word was like really spreading, and wanted to kind of see how this could be integrated into like a technology solution, how this could be this kind of service could be scaled more effectively. And then last year, I met my now co-founder, Catherine. So her background is in data science. She's worked across a bunch of different industries, making some really cool products to detect trending disinformation on social media for like some policymakers in the US. So really, really amazing background. And she actually also was working on a very similar concept, but looking at it as a data problem. You have these kind of social media channels like Reddit threads and private Facebook groups where women and men share pictures of their skin. They tell people about their routine, what they've been using. And there's just these masses and masses of data and peer-to-peer advice. So she really saw it as a data problem and had been working on kind of a similar concept. And we actually met very fortuitously. She was looking for somebody with kind of a background in skincare, and I was looking for somebody with the tech side of things. So Amazing. It's kind of like this perfect match. So we decided to work together basically straight away.
Amazing. With finding a co-founder in that way, how did that relationship form in the early days? Because it's such a tight-knit relationship being a founder and a co-founder or two co-founders. Was that tough, or did you guys just gel straight away?
To be honest, we gelled really quickly. I think I had a kind of bad experience previously and had been spending quite a lot of time looking for somebody. So right in the beginning, when I started working on this a couple of years ago, I had been working with a friend of mine, and that ended up not working out. The saying is true, don't mix business and pleasure in that way. So I learned the hard way and kind of lost a friend through that. And so was really cautious about getting into a kind of co-founder relationship again. But I had appreciated that I didn't have the technical expertise. So I'd been looking for technical co-founder and reaching out through all these different kind of services and going to events and trying to connect with people. But I think it's very, very, very hard to find a technical co-founder anyway. And then to find one that's kind of really passionate about skincare and the beauty industry is almost like a real needle in a haystack. So I'd actually kind of given up when I met Catherine. So it was, just amazingly fortuitous that we met, and we really hit it off straight away. We're very
fantastic.
We have the same Myers-Briggs, so we're very similar in the way we kind of do things. So I understand like how she processes information, and when we kind of don't have the same opinion on something, we kind of get to an agreement really effectively. I think we just understand how each other works because we are quite similar in our personalities.
Yeah, no, that's really key. You hear some really horrible stories about co-founders falling out and being rushed into things. So it's really nice to hear that you guys are gelling together and really making Renude what it is today. Let's talk about Renude then. How's the last 12 months been? So, you know, you and Catherine meet, you both go, right, let's do this, take this to that cheesy saying of the next level. How has the last 12 months been, excluding this whole little blip of the last 3 months?
It's been amazing. So actually, when I met Catherine, she had just joined Founders Factory, so they're an accelerator in London, and they have corporate backers that sponsor different sections of Founders Factory. So within beauty, it's L'Oreal. So she was already in Founders Factory, which was amazing. They have a really incredible team, loads of expertise within the accelerator, as well as obviously funding the business in the early stages. So we've really been able to kind of hit the ground running. We've worked with an amazing developer in the US and just been working on product, loads and loads of user feedback calls, kind of really getting it to a stage where we're really happy that it is meeting the needs of the user. Loads and loads of product research as well on the skincare side of things. So what we have done is basically created an edit of what we believe are the best products on the market, specifically within dermacosmetics. So that's brands that are typically sold in aesthetic clinics or in pharmacies, and need a bit of education around how to use them because they contain active ingredients which, if kind of overused or misused, can actually have kind of damage the skin barrier. So that was a huge research project, vetting all these different products to create our kind of edit of the best, which is currently about 200 products, which we're really kind of proud that we've refined, you know, what's out there to create this like really best of the best edit. So that was a huge piece of work. And then we actually just launched in March this year. So even though we've been working on it since August, we officially went live in March, which was probably 2 weeks before everything, the lockdown happened in the UK, which, as much as it's horrible to say, actually having lots of people indoors and not really being able to access aesthetic clinics actually meant that people were looking for this kind of solution online. So we've had loads and loads of demand, been super busy. I think it feels like a very natural progression anyway from kind of the face-to-face experiences. You know, all industries are kind of moving online, and, you know, aesthetic clinics are very much a human interaction. That's like, you know, you go there as a treat, you have this relationship with your clinician there. So that's it's one of the harder industries, I think, to move to online. But we do offer these face-to-face consultations. So I think you still have that human interaction element.
You're mixing both worlds.
Exactly, yeah. So I think the situation over the last few months has kind of, I guess, accelerated the move of that particular industry to online. Obviously, treatments have to be in person, but in terms of the kind of expertise and advice element, I think
that's really interesting. Talk to me about the client's journey then. What would make them come onto your site? What would make them, what's going on in their world right now that's thinking, right, I need a solution, and Renude is that solution?
So we kind of have three different user mindsets, I guess. One, our kind of biggest audience is what we call a skincare newbie. So these are people who are, they haven't really used a routine before. Maybe they're not familiar with a lot of different brands, but they kind of perhaps they're starting to notice signs of aging and feel like maybe they should be taking better care of their skin, or perhaps they've just decided that now's the time for them to kind of get into a proper routine. So they come to us really for kind of step-by-step guidance. The service that we provide is not only like these are the products that are going to be most effective based on your budget, based on your goals, but also really like how you should use all of these together, how they layer, what are the actives in there. We offer some education around what those actives are doing on the skin. So it's a really in-depth view of kind of why we've chosen the products and what exactly they're doing in the skin, which I think excites people, especially when they're sort of haven't spent a lot of time researching skincare before. It's like a really kind of fascinating thing to explore. And then we say these people often graduate into the beauty buffs, which are like people that are really love reading about skincare, love watching video content, like up to date with all the actives and the latest products and things. But it's a really interesting industry, because if you haven't really used skincare before, and then you start a proper regime and you notice the difference in your skin, it becomes a very addictive kind of industry, and you want to like know about all the latest ingredients and like you kind of it's a bit of a mindset shift. So we kind of take people through from the skincare newbie into this kind of, okay, what can I try next? Can I add a vitamin C? I've heard azelaic acid's really good. Should I be using it? You know, they've become much more educated, which is kind of really, really exciting to bring someone from a point of not really knowing much to being like this really kind of excited and enthusiastic customer.
Yeah, that must feel great as a co-founder to see that journey happen and see that education take place and that mindset shift, like you said, and actually they end up caring a hell of a lot more about the products they're using and the way they're doing everything versus however many days or weeks or months beforehand. For you, when you're working on this business, what does it give you? What does this business fuel you in your day-to-day life?
I just love the feeling of somebody, that's tried some new skincare and they've come back and they've said, I feel amazing. Everyone's telling me I look amazing. I just like can't thank you enough. This has like changed how I feel about myself. It's changed how I, go into the world, how people respond to me, all of these things. So it's like an industry I feel like can get trivialized slightly. I think it's, it's seen as maybe something that's not essential. It's more of like frivolous perhaps, but it ultimately impacts somebody's self-esteem and ultimately what they're prepared to do in the world. It's like people, if you're feeling self-conscious about anything, it makes you want to perhaps not interact with people, not do things that you would otherwise like want to have the confidence to do. So it's those kind of moments of user feedback where they say, this has really kind of changed how I feel about myself. That's when, those are the moments I'm like, yes, okay, this is totally worth it. It's exactly why we're doing it.
And then on the flip side of that, what's been some of the challenges that you faced over the last couple of months growing this?
I think every day is like every day is constant like bombardment of challenges.
Every day you're being thrown a new curveball.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, I think that the overall theme of that is just the mindset. I know it's like super cliched, but just I definitely have been through personally an evolution of like at the beginning, you're starting a business, you're doing all this stuff that you don't know how to do by nature of doing everything, yourself or doing much more yourself. So then you're already like feeling a bit imposter syndrome, and then you're doing stuff you don't know how to do. So you're like, I'm just totally useless. And then just like getting into the mindset of like, well, of course I'm not really good at this thing because I've only just started doing it, but you have to start somewhere and you have to just keep going and kind of being okay with not really knowing what you're doing. It was like, the phase I'm in now.
Did you put any support around you then? Because obviously, like you mentioned, Catherine was part of Founders Factory, so she had a support network that she could tap into. What about you? Did you join something similar? Did you work with people? How did you deal with that?
I went to a lot of events, went to a lot of kind of female founder events in particular, and just like there's so much going on in London. I mean, maybe less in lockdown, but there's kind of events every night for networking with people that are also going through the same thing. And I have made a few very good friends that have kind of been in the same part of the journey, you know, especially before I met Catherine, when I was working alone. It's really hard. And just having someone else who's also doing the same thing to just, you know, verify some of your emotions and just say, like, you know, it's supposed to be, we've chosen it, just keep going, is super important. I think, yeah, just having that kind of solidarity with someone that understands, you know, what you're going through is really helpful.
It's one of those things that when you don't have it, you think that nobody has it. But then when you start having those conversations, when you start meeting like-minded people, even if it's in a really casual way, you know, like going to a networking event, for example, you just start thinking, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. And actually often it also means that it goes, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I need to push myself a little bit harder, because that startup over there that has just closed, you know, a 20 million round, and they're only 4 months old or something ridiculous, which is really key. How have you dealt with that in the lockdown then? Because you can't be going to events. Have you still managed to keep up that sort of network that you built?
Yeah, I mean, some of the people I've met in the journey, like I speak to quite regularly on WhatsApp or like on Instagram, or have phone calls with them. But I definitely think, like, obviously since I met Catherine, she's like my partner in crime now. So if I'm having a stress day or like feeling overwhelmed or, you know, negative, then she's there to sort of kick that out. Exactly. Or, you know, and make you feel better again. And that works obviously both ways. Yeah.
Really good. Let's talk about the future of Renude then, sorry. Where do you guys want to go? What's the next sort of 6 to 12 months looking like for you?
So we're kind of, very new and just in the process of getting, you know, lots of users on board and making sure we're making something that's really valuable for them. We are starting our fundraise in a couple of months. So looking to secure our seed round by the end of this year. And then the plan beyond then is really to kind of build out our team. What we're building ultimately is going to be a technology business, and we are, you know, Catherine's background being data science. We have lots of plans for the company in terms of how we are going to evolve the product. So that's kind of our big focus, I guess, once we have the capital, is to really create something that is completely unique and super helpful and valuable to our users, but also really intelligent in terms of the kind of technical side of things.
Really exciting times. Have you got an investor profile in mind that you want to work with?
We have quite an extensive hit list. Really excited
profile, by whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, really excited by those working across beauty and tech. I think it's ultimately going to be a deep tech business, and the kind of investors that overlap with kind of consumer facing beauty businesses and the tech side of things are limited, I guess. So that's kind of our ideal, would be somebody that kind of has experience across both of those sectors.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Excellent. Pippa, one of my final questions to you is, from your sort of experience the last 6 to 12 months, if someone was going to sort of start their business today in a similar, perhaps not a similar field, but a similar sort of background and focus, what would be some of the learnings that you can give them from what you've experienced in the last 6 to 12 months?
100% to build a network of people that like can support you and that are going through the same thing. That's like, especially if you're doing this on your own, it's a real process, and it's really, really hard. It's hard anyway, but if you've only got your own brain to sort of rationalize or pull yourself out of the stressful days, it's not easy. So to build that network. And also, I think just to kind of be kind to yourself and take a break. You know, if it is, there's always more to do, and you'll always feel like you're not getting as much as you'd like to get done. Things always take longer than you think. There's always more coming in. So just recognizing that and actually having a moment to go and have a CBD tea, or just go for a walk, or create the headspace that allows you to come back and actually work more effectively. Because if you're working all the hours every day, your brain just doesn't function effectively, so you can't actually perform. It's not healthy and it's not useful to you long term. You know, people say it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's totally true. You need to kind of keep yourself sane, I guess.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago it was almost trendy to be burning yourself out, but now it's definitely moved back to that switch of, you know what, chill out, take time off, go, like you said, go for that walk, figure out what works for you to let you decompress, and do more of that.
For sure.
Fantastic. Pippa, one final question. I promise this is the final question. How do people find out more about Renude?
So our website is live at renude.co. So that would be the place to go. We have all the information on how it works, all our services. Or you can also follow us on Instagram at renude.co is a handle as well. Super easy, both the same. And we obviously share lots of content and updates on there too.
Great. Pippa, thank you so much for coming on, talking about Renude. I'm so looking forward to just seeing how your journey goes, seeing how your investment rounds go. And I'm sure you will kill it in the field.
Thanks, Stephen. Great to speak to you today.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.